living her best life, 30 going back to school, getting railed by ghosts in a Victorian mansion with pet peacocks. When I'm at a used bookstore, I like to look for things that I couldn't find anywhere else. Sci-fi magazines from the 50s. This one was supposed to contain a short story by C.L. Moore, but the cover was just stuck on the front of this edition. I love her. Fun stickers. Zebra always has the best fun stickers, by the way. And my most recent find, which my cousin actually found, the spine does it too. The whole book is this. I believe that the term for this is lentricular. If you grew up in the early 2000s, there was a lot of these agenda covers, journal covers, bookmarks, but I have never in my life come across a lentricular romance novel. And I need to read you the back of this book because the reason this man disappears, he's a spirit. 1843, Lachlan Baird brings his bride to the house he'd built especially for her, but the honeymoon is cut short when Lachlan is murdered. He's been haunting the place ever since. She's the real thing. 1994, after years of catering to others, Beth Staples is ready to live her own life. While vacationing at a magnificent mansion in Scotland, she meets the man of her dreams. Too bad he's a ghost, and that's just the beginning. Can a sensible modern woman and an irresistibly seductive spirit find happiness together? With a little trust, a lot of love, and a few twists of fate, anything is possible. He's lentricular. Because he's a ghost? I have never felt so much joy. Today, we are going to read this book. Oh, by the way, this book is by Mickey Madden. It is a difficult book to read because the cover is so thick and so rigid. Like, you can see it in the spine. The spine has popped off. We begin with a glossary because this is in Scotland. And when the ghost speaks, it's written phonetically. There's a glossary so that you can understand what the Scottish ghost from 1843 is saying. This book starts with Carleen Cambridge telling her friend Beth Staples to come from the US to Scotland on a vacation because I think I just need to read this to you. Because Lachlan had convinced her to aid him. That was why. Damn his persuasive hide. Something touched upon her awareness. She knew he was there, staring at the portrait with a look of unyielding determination in his fathomless dark eyes. If only he hadn't manipulated her into plunging headlong into initiating the deception. Her shoulders sagging, she crossed the room, her despondent gaze trained to where she knew she would find him.
There's something very dark in here.
And he was there, seeming a giant amidst the solar radiance enveloping him. She stopped a few feet away when he slowly turned his head to give her an assessing look. Should I read it how it's written? Because I am going to offend somebody. Oh, God. Pull yourself together. The deep resonance of his Scottish burr still held the ability to strike some primitive chord within her sexual awareness, and she resented him for that. She loved David. David's her husband. But since her first meeting with this devil of a laird before her, she'd betrayed her husband 100 times within the deepest, darkest recesses of her mind. She said finally, "If we told her the truth, 'tis no our place. Besides, 'tis too late to warn her." I don't know what he's saying. Carleen looked up at the portrait hanging above the white marble fireplace. In some macabre way, she was sure Lachlan had, indeed, fallen in love with the woman in the portrait. She had never known him to be more attentive or subdued than when she spoke of her high school and brief college days with Beth. How do you think she's going to react when she learns that I betrayed her? That you planned this whole sham of a vacation to get her here? I'll worry about it when the time comes. You're one arrogant bastard, Lachlan. Unruffled by her remark, he looked up at the portrait and sighed with deep longing. Damn it, Lachlan, what we're doing is wrong. Next you'll be telling me the link is a gift of the devil, eh? This is the second page. Dina, you understand. I can feel her stirring in my blood every second that passes. Every mile that closes between us, I can feel her ear stronger. I can offer her everlasting sunsets and dawns. I can fulfill her airy dream, airy fantasy. For whatever reason, God gave me this gift, and he's given me a second chance at happiness. Carlene does not want to invite Beth to come to Scotland anymore because the ghost fell in love with her portrait. Oh, Jesus Christ. Carlene leaves very angrily, slams the door. Lachlan evil laughs. With the gentleness of a lover, he reached up and touched his fingertips to the portrait's breasts. And my bride you shall be, Beth Staples. Also, the ghost does have powers. He gets angry because Carlene tries to warn Beth to not come, and then there's a storm, the curtains are blowing, and the storm stops because Beth has arrived. Carlene was going to tell Beth in a letter. They not know when Beth's getting there. We now switch to Beth focalization. Beth is getting off of the airplane with her loafers in her purse. She's just walking barefoot off the airplane. Is that normal? Do you ever deplane barefooted? Beth and Carlene have not seen each other in 8 years. Welcome to ADR. The man who picks up Beth from the airport tells her the history of Kist House. It was built in the early 1840s, Victorian mansion, and it's haunted because they say that, I'm sorry, Lanny Baird built in 1843, then returned up north to search for a wife to fill it with children. He wed a 17-year-old Highland girl named Tessa Atkin. 1 month later, Lanny vanished. Roby Inglis was renovating the tower when the body o' Lanny Baird was discovered. It seems someone drove a knife through the poor mon's heart. For walling him oop. What? For walling him oop. Oh, before walling him up. Oh. And since the discovery, Baird House has been called Kist House. Kist in Scottish means a chest or box or coffin. Beth is having a little bit of a crisis because in a few days she's turning 30. She feels older than 30. She took some time off to care for her sick mom. Her mom just died 2 months ago, and now Beth is getting a business degree. Beth is really happy to be in Scotland. Damn, Scotland, I'm in love. Also, I'm in love with life. I think we need to have Beth energy. I'm probably saying that way too early in this book.
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
Carlene gives Beth a little bit of a house tour. First, second, at which point Beth notices that Carlene looks a little scared. But she says, nah, it's fine. It's great, actually. Let's have some tea. We also learn here that Beth is clumsy, and she does not want Carlene to set her up with a Scottish guy because she's going to school in the fall. Carlene tells Beth that they have a groundskeeper named Lachlan, and he's a bit gruff. Beth stopped for a look back. Her first impression of the room had been that it was exquisitely feminine, but now she realized that amidst the vibrant dashes of color, it was the most masculine room she'd ever been in. This is giving decorating sense with the feminine and masculine energy.
Masculine, eclectic, retro twist.
She was about to voice her admiration of the decor when she happened to look up at a painting hanging above the mantelpiece. Oh, we're going to get a description of the portrait. In their 12th year at Kenwick High, Carlene had talked her into letting her paint her portrait, and there Beth sat in the painting amidst a field of wildflowers. She couldn't have been more pleased with it having a place in such a house. Carlene has to go get her husband. That's what she tells Beth. But this is how she tells her. This is lousy timing, kiddo, but I'm going to have to take off in a little while to get him. It's a long drive, so we'll probably stay at a B&B for the night. Another sight caused her to gasp. The instant she looked into the face of the man standing at the bottom of the steps, she felt icy fingers of fear clutch at her heart. Beth, this is the groundskeeper I told you about. He had a remarkable face, angles and ruggedness, a face which possessed a powerful magnetism to the female eye, hers being no exception. But when he tried to take the suitcase from her hand, she stubbornly, instinctively tightened her grip. She's a strong, independent woman. Swallow your pride, lass, he chided, his eyes staring deeply into her own with uncanny boldness. A sense of familiarity touched Beth, planting the notion in her mind that she had known this man in another life. Oh, God. When he reached out again for her suitcase, his hand brushed against her fingers, causing a sensation of electricity to slither up her arm. She somehow knew the contact had been deliberate, his way of heightening her awareness of him. With a slow grin, he tugged the suitcase from her grasp. You did say he was gruff. Is he always so pushy? This is the most 1990s book that possibly could ever exist. Carlene leaves to go pick up her husband. It's nighttime. Beth's alone in the house with Lachlan. She gets scared because she hears the peacock. Peacocks sound freaky, so I get it, Beth. Her and Lachlan start chatting, talking about how it's really beautiful here in Scotland, but also kind of spooky. And he says, "Aye, 'tis all then mare." What the Aye, 'tis all that and mare. This feels like playing that game where you have to say the word on the card, amen, and it's usually dirty. Despite his unnerving proximity, the tension in her body began to ebb, as if she were absorbing his ease and contentment, his confidence. "What do you think of Scotland?" She shrugged within the band of muscular arms embracing her. Since when is he embracing her? "What I've seen is wonderful, but I really haven't had a chance to see much. You'll come to love it here. Maybe almost as much as me." Girl, run! Mindless of what her next move might provoke. Oh no. Beth innocently turned in Lachlan's arms and looked up into his eyes. "I can't understand everything you're saying. Your accent is very thick." Lachlan's smoldering dark gaze. A smoldering dark gaze, hell yeah, dipped unsettlingly on Beth's full, shapely mouth. "I'm speaking as slow as I can, Beth. I'm glad you're here. I've waited a long time to meet you." She was almost 30, not a schoolgirl. So why did her heart rise into her throat when his hands came to light on her upper arms? Why was she unable to move or speak when, while staring deeply into his eyes, he began to lower his head? Cool chiseled lip. We're on chapter 2. Cool chiseled lips covered her own in a teasing, almost experimental kiss. She stood immobile while her insides were pumping, swelling, twisting, and bursting. See a doctor. She experienced a spiritual soaring and swooping, then soaring again as the kiss deepened. Great rhythm in that sentence. Sinewy arms enveloped her, molding her against the length of his incredibly hard body. She became lost within a sense of rightness, of belonging. Stranger. The word detonated within the confines of her skull, and she reacted like a startled kitten. Beth just runs away. Lachlan catches up to her, is like, "You could have just said no." Kiss the hot Scottish ghost. Lachlan says, "Sorry, I got a bit lost in your eyes," except he says it in the, "I've never been able to resist making a beautiful woman blush. Woman." Beth calls Lachlan a twerp, getting to very mass market paperback romance. I don't want to say bodice ripper territory, but where she says, "Leave me alone, no, don't touch me," and he's following her around the house, being like, "Oh, we're playing a little game." He makes her tea, even though she said no, but she's like smiling about it while he makes her tea. Oh, she's checking him out. Oh my god, I need to read this to you. He certainly was a character. Someone who could have easily just returned home from pirating on the high seas. Pirate. That's its own sentence. Pirate. Pirate. His shoulder-length dark auburn hair, the powerful breadth of his shoulders and back, accentuated by the white shirt he wore. A shirt very much in the style the pirate types had worn in centuries past. They call it a pirate shirt. Black, tight-fitting pants covered his slim hips, rounded backside, and muscular thighs. He gives her tea and says, "I knew we had something in common, lass. Straight tea and kissing in the moonlight."
He frotted in the moonlight.
Beth asks him what he does around here, because he's supposed to be the groundskeeper and not a ghost from 1894 who's tricked her to come here so that he can marry her. Along with sort of having weather magic powers, the ghost can also, he says he can feel the house's heart, like the house is alive, but he can also just like light the candles. He can do ghost stuff. Lachlan walks Beth up to her room, continues to relentlessly flirt with her the whole time. "I am a mon who knows what he wants." "What is it you want?" Beth asks in a whisper of a tone. Lachlan gave her a slow roll of his eyes before answering. The air elusive happiness, for the mon who hesitates, slips through his grasp, and become nigh impossible to reclaim. Do you understand? I don't believe it's ever too late to go after a dream. Damn, that could be a end of a Barbie movie quote. I need to buy a microphone that I don't have to hold. He bent to kiss her again. Oh my god! But she placed her palms to his chest and gave him a nudge. "Good night." An impish gleam lit up his eyes. "It can't have been. Sweet dreams, Beth." Beth flops down on her bed and thinks to herself, it was too incredible to believe a man like Lachlan was truly interested in her. He was handsome, charming, and witty, and surprisingly tender and profound at the most peculiar moments. Girl, you've had like one conversation in which he tried to kiss you twice. She hadn't given a thought to a man in her future, let alone her near future, until she'd met him. Beth is trying to go to sleep, but she's scared The peacocks are still cawing, and also she watched as a greenish mist shifted. The flame atop the candle flickered, almost extinguished, then righted once again. Her gaze cut briefly to it, then back, only to find the mist was now positioned to the left of her bed. "Lanny?" she choked. "No, go away. I don't believe in ghosts." She turned and yanked on the knob, but the door would not budge. "Let me out!" Oh no! Ah! The mist had completely enveloped her, green, sparkling with an intensity that increased every second. Despite her terror, she sensed a presence within the anomaly, sensed something trying to communicate. What the fuck? Beth screaming on the floor when Lachlan comes in and says, "What's wrong, lass?" Beth asks Lachlan if the place is really haunted. He says, "Some believe so."
It's clearly time for certified home inspector Brian Daly to shine his flashlight on the matter.
"That's the ghost of Lanny. He just wanted to look at you." And Beth is like, "Okay." He kisses her again.
So did man.
Strange land, strange house, strange mon, and strange occurrences. I'd say you were owed a bit of jitters. Am I cold? What? Whatever Beth expected, it was not to find herself being drawn into his arms, drawn into a kiss that easily melted her fears. Even his lips were cold, but the kiss was warm. It felt natural to be in his embrace, mastered by his kisses, as if somewhere deep in her subconscious she'd fantasized about such a man. He says that he might not be here when she wakes up. "I've things to do about the place. I wouldn't leave your side for a moment unless need be." What does he have to do? He's a ghost. "Good night." For sure this time, he kisses her on the cheek and says, "Dream of me, darling."
We can talk about this nightmare in the morning.
Okay. Unbeknown to her, the mist returned, hovering by her bedside, watching, ever vigilant. It had never been Lanny's intention to frighten her. Quite the opposite. Help. We're getting weirder. It's the next day. Beth's outside. She's crying about her mom because she took care of her for 8 years when she was dying. There's a lot of emotions happening. Lachlan comes across her. As he's holding on to her, comforting her as she's crying, he kind of starts going to second base. And she says, "No, we know why this is such a common thing that happens in books from this era, books of this genre. A way for women to give into that kind of desire with it still being either mentally or socially acceptable because you're trying to stop it. And that is obviously not to fucking say you like it or you're asking for it if this was happening in real life. Fiction is a very different context. Romance is a very different context. If someone says no, it's no. But in a fantasy space, the fantasy of a romance where you are being romanced by a ghost from 1894 who won't take no for an answer. Whoa. His hands are in her pants. He keeps saying fegs. Fegs, lass. He breathed unsteadily. "You damn near lost me my purpose." Fegs. Fegs isn't in the glossary. Is it I don't understand what's going on. We damn near made love. I was here, remember? Is this a question of morals? What are they talking about? Whatever, now they're arguing again. There's a weird scene where Lachlan goes to talk to some people who I think are the housekeepers. They have an argument and one of the housekeeper's sons is named Borgie. Now we're back with Beth and she's in the bathtub. Luckily, this bathtub contains bubbles because Lachlan is standing in the doorway with a plate of grapes.
"Oh, princess, you can run, but you can't hide."
"Have you eaten lunch?" She says, "If I'm hungry, I'll fix something myself. I prefer to bathe in private, thank you." He said, "Would you have gone all the way in the gazebo?" He says, "I don't understand women. What they say and what they do is often contradictory. But men are simple, black and white." She says, "You better get a shovel." Her words perplexed him. What for? To start unloading the shit piling up in He says that's no way for a lady to talk. He leaves. She throws the plate that he left her of fruit and cheese. That makes me want a charcuterie board. Okay, what the freak? She comes across Lachlan again and says, "Sorry, I'm a little out of sorts." "Bitchy, you mean?" I guess she's just bitchy for not wanting this man she just met to bring her grapes and cheese when she's in the bathtub, unasked. They start talking about his life, and he says, "Well, I was married once, but it wasn't a good marriage. I was a rash young man." I'm so sorry. I'm not trying to do a Jamaican accent. I'm really not. It's just that's how it's written. I had this notion that all women were like her, heartless, greedy, wanton. Oh, sorry. More than a man could cared ere give him. What? Wanton more than a man could e'er give them. Wanting more than a man could ever give him. They're talking about Beth and Carlene's friendship, and Beth's like, I don't know why we're friends. She's always been so much more outgoing. Her flame is so much brighter than mine is. And Lachlan says no. His yank was a delightful ball of fire, but he had to be careful not to extinguish the flame. Although she was not aware of it, the chemistry between them had already constructed the foundation of their bond. Built upon the psychic link she had not as yet consciously accepted. 2 steps remained. He had to win her love completely, which he was confident wouldn't be all that difficult. She was not the kind of woman to allow a man to kiss and pet her unless her heart was guiding her. However, the last step troubled him. Unless she learned to open up and trust him, there would always be a wall between them. And Lachlan Baird had a thing about walls of any kind obstructing him.
Something's behind the wall. There's some dark energies. People have done some really bad things.
Okay, it's another day. Lachlan made our dinner last night. It was Eggs Benedict. Beth is walking around in her baggy sweatshirt like she's about to be sold to One Direction. The peacock comes and brushes against her leg because apparently there are Lachlan's pet peacocks. She's also wondering where Carlene and David are because they are still not there. The people from the other chapter, I think they were the housekeepers. There's an old lady here giving her food. Agnes is the old woman's name. You've a good soul, but that'll change if you stay here too long. Ominous. Agnes asks Beth if Lanny has, can I say this word on YouTube? Kissed/touched her against her will, is what we'll say. And she says the ghost. I think he looked in on me the first night. All I could see was a green mist. Agnes says he'll come to you as pretty as you are. He's vile.
I think this ghost wants to be inside you.
And Beth is like, what the hell are you talking about, old lady? Agnes says, listen to me. I'm old. Leave while you can. This house is cursed. Lanny's the Dale himself. Get out and didn't look back. At this point, Lachlan bursts in and says, enough. I'm translating this for you guys. I'm not going to say Nick. Says, go away. You're filling this girl's head with nonsense. Beth tells off Lachlan for speaking rudely to the cook. God, we get another description of what Lachlan's wearing. A dark green silk shirt of the same style he'd worn yesterday hung loosely on his shoulders, the full, poofy sleeves only partially hiding the muscular contours of his arms. The shirt remained unbuttoned, nearly where it was tucked into the waistband of his dark, snug pants. That's really unbuttoned. That's Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park unbuttoned. Sorry, I didn't finish that sentence. Into the waistband of his dark, snug pants, and he was again wearing the black knee-high boots. Slay the house down, boots mama. An uncomfortable warmth began in the soles of her feet and rapidly spread upwards. What? The soles of her feet? New erogenous zone unlocked. He kind of teases her for checking him out. She's like, good thing you don't know about what I was thinking before I went to bed last night. Huh? As Beth is thinking about more ways to yell at Lachlan, she gets a really bad pain in the back of her head and collapses. Oh my god! He's kissing her again! Lachlan sighed deeply before angling his head to kiss her lips. He decides it's smooch time. As they're kissing, he realizes that her pain is lessening. It was a mental struggle, but he managed to retain his psychic bond with her to monitor her condition. He not only has power over the weather and the house, but also he can read people's minds. And apparently his kiss can heal your headache, as all kisses from ghosts from 1894 do. The migraine had evaporated to little more than a memory. They stop kissing. Apparently Agnes is just gone. Beth's kind of feeling a little unsettled, even though just moments ago she was saying she's not afraid at all and he kisses migraines away. But now she's like, I'm gonna go. Okay. She tries to leave. He grabs her. He says, you're not threatened by me. You're only threatened by what's between us. He kisses her some more. Dubious consent warning, because at once the fight went out of her. In place of her fears was an ache within her, but one of absolute bliss. Is his ghost kissing brainwashing her? The reason that they connect so good is because they have the ability to share and experience each other's emotions. Mating bond who? He says that's what you reacted to in the dining room. I don't know what time he's talking about. There's been so much happening. When she was sitting outside thinking about her mother's funeral and being really sad, he repeats that all back to her to prove that he can feel all her emotions and that she can feel all his emotions. So you're psychic. He says, I'm something, all right. He kisses her again. Beth goes to have a nap because her headache's worsening. She dreams that Charlene's warning her to leave because of Lainey. When Beth wakes up. There's a man touring the house. This man's kind of coming on to her really creepy when the ghost does something to him. Agony contorted his features. His mouth opened wider in an unfulfilled attempt to cry out. The mist swirled about his head, then faded from sight, leaving Beth to wonder if she'd seen it at all. Yeah, Stephen Miles leaves after possibly being kicked in the balls by a ghost. Beth thinks that the misty ghost of Lonnie isn't real, and that he is just playing mind games with her to get her to fall in love with him. I don't know what the logic is at this point. It's nighttime. It's 4 hours until Beth's birthday. She'll be 30. She's brushing her hair. She thinks she's alone in the house, so she's just been sort of cleaning up. And then she sees Lachlan, and he looks really sad. He looks like he's going through it. She gets it because she took care of her dying mom. And her and Lachlan start to talk about feelings and telling him about the thing with her mom. Before Beth's mom died, she said some hurtful things to her. Lachlan knows this because he's a ghost and psychic. Beth said her mom just wanted to not be alive anymore. This is really tough to read if you've ever watched someone die. And then one day Beth woke up and her mom was dead, and she wasn't grateful that it was over for her mom, but because it was over for her. She feels bad that she feels like this. This is where all her guilt and rage and sadness is coming from. Lachlan just looks at her and says, "I love you, girl. Put your mother to rest in your heart and give yourself to me." What? His hands start caressing her. If she gave into her feelings tonight, allowed the raw desire within her to surface, what would the morning bring? How could she face Carlene and David? Girl, I don't think they'd care. I'm trying to put myself into Carlene's brain. I'm married to an English man in a house in Scotland, and a ghost falls in love with the portrait of my best friend. I trick my best friend into coming to Scotland so that the ghost can marry her, and then I leave to let the ghost seduce my best friend. And then my best friend is kind of into it and is gonna get by the ghost. Let's end this mental experiment. Okay. Oh, whoa. What are hurdies? Anything I actually need a definition for isn't in the glossary, which makes me think that they're dirty words. 'Tis so long since these hands have touched such hurdies. Guys, we're not even halfway through. Okay. Oh, okay. Okay. There are clothing pieces being ripped. It was upon him to initiate her into the wonders of lovemaking, although it had been the key that had forsaken his hopes and dreams many years ago. What? He was determined her first experience would further bond her to him. What? This is a crazy sentence. I wish you could just read all of these things, but I don't think I can read this all out to you. At first glimpse of his arousal, she started to look away, but some inner instinct prompted her to stare at the instrument that was about to play the chords of her yet unfulfilled needs. She wanted to hear angels and birds, to feel the soaring upon penetration described in romance books. Angels and birds. Damn. I guess it's her birthday. And he is
eating the box,
which was definitely illegal in 1894, but I like that he knows how to do that. She has never done this before, and he knows it because he's a ghost and they are psychically linked. Yeah, she is with a ghost. As they're recovering, he says, how do you say this Scottish? "Happy birthday, Beth," Lachlan said huskily. Beth wakes up the next day to find herself alone. Beth goes down the stairs. There's coffee, there's breakfast. The old woman is kind of chilly with Beth. "He got you to his room, didn't he?" Agnes slut shames Beth a lot of bit. Beth says, "What happens between two consenting adults is none of your business." Slay Beth. "It's no my business if you choose to sleep with the devil, but I didn't have to like it now." She's wondering to herself out loud how Agnes knew that she slept with Lachlan last night if Lachlan didn't tell her. And also, where the hell is Lachlan? As Beth is walking around, she runs into another strange man. Agnes's son, Borgie. He says, "If you get stir crazy, let me know." And then he disappears into the bushes. Beth gets hungry and frustrated. She wants to know where Carlene is. Agnes is gone. Lachlan's gone. Beth's like, what the hell? The light was again lessening within the house when Beth arrived on the third floor and saw Lachlan's bedroom door open. He's got champagne, bread and cheese, a bowl of luscious strawberries, and a silver container of cream.
Hey, girl.
He's ready. She stepped farther into the room, to the edge of the rugs, and looked over the blatant seduction scene with contempt blazing in her eyes. I've been waiting for you, love. Beth looked over her shoulder to see Lachlan standing at the threshold, slowly turning her body to align with her head. Wait. Wouldn't it usually be? I don't know, whatever. She gawked at the man through a crimson face. You're naked? In response, Lachlan grinned broadly and gave the gown over his arm a shake. For you, a belated birthday present. Oh, I thought him being naked was our birthday present.
Is my in a box?
But it's the gown. Lachlan, aka Lanny's wife, Tessa, he got her this dress, but she stabbed him before he could give it to her. Put it on, sweets. I've been aching to behold you in it. That's weird. My birthday's over. Where have you been all day?
Happy birthday?
He says busy. He's been busy with his ghost business, Beth.
Just working hard so I can please you.
Some weird dig on Irish people. His arms opened, his eyes gleaming with an unsettling combination of mischief and passion. Nah, fighting between us. 'Tis a terrible waste of my energy, and I want it all, need it all, to pleasure you.
Please yourself like you mean it.
Beth is having none of this. Lachlan's trying to kiss her when Beth lifts the container of cream and pours it on his head. She hurried to the bowl of strawberries and dumped these two over his head. He eats some of the berries. Can I possibly consider this a bit of foreplay, Beth, my girl? Beth says, drop dead. Oh my god! Okay, he's kissing her again. How did we get here? She was determined to retain her anger. She needed it to find salvation from the treacherous longing igniting fierce and merciless fires within her loins. But when Lachlan's mouth swooped down and took possession of her lips, she felt herself weakening. Damn him. She wasn't easy, and it infuriated her that she found him so difficult to resist. She's not a whore. She's not easy. Beth. He said something odd again about how they're spiritually linked. He made a rueful face as he inspected the scene he'd so carefully arranged for his planned night of lovemaking with the woman. His woman. He'd known that the instant he'd laid eyes on her portrait. Lest we forget where this started. Beth has left, by the way. Tessa be damned. His first marriage be damned. This time, he'd do it right. He'd only been more than 100 years off track. He would never have children to fill his grand house, but he had found a woman to share eternity with. What more could any man want? She's going to get pregnant with his ghost babies, isn't she? Lachlan's also worried that Agnes or Borgie will tell her the truth that he's a ghost. That's his secret. If only he could breach the boundaries of time and see into the future. Are you sure you can't breach the boundaries of time, my dude? Know for certain how to prepare himself for the events destined to unfold. He began to fade into the night-cloaked room. 'Tis a terrible grey limbo, all waiting to peak the energy to return to ya, girl. What? His misty form began to move through the room. Ghosthood has its drawbacks, but I'll be back on the morn's morn. Until then, Beth, dream of me kindly. So Lachlan is the shimmery mist ghost. That's his ghost form. Honestly, Beth's outfit's kind of eating. I love a 90s moment. She's in a cotton calf-length skirt and a sleeveless matching top of pale blue. Living her best life, 30, going back to school, getting railed by ghosts in a Victorian mansion with pet peacocks in Scotland. As Beth's exploring, she finds the room upstairs where Lainey, aka Lachlan's body, was found, and she starts talking to it. She says she loves his house. Whoa! Beth is in the tower looking out. There was such serenity surrounding Baird House. She felt as if she were the only person left on the planet, a princess in her tower. And this was how Lachlan first saw her when he materialized behind her. His mouth opened to speak, but no words came out. Breathless and buoyant, he stepped off to one side to have a better view of her profile. Lachlan is planning all of these romantic outings, little dates that they can go on, picnics, strolling in the pastures, horseback rides, when he thinks, and what would he say to his future bride if his energies ran short and he simply poofed away? Ah, lassie, I've been meaning to tell you something for a time now. You see, I've been dead, about 149 years now. This book goes between being so weird and so unnerving and the best thing I've ever read. But dinna let it worry ya, even dead. Love puts me in my cups. What? What does that mean? Beth, my darling, I'm a ghost. A wee lonely spirit, but one where a man's dreams and say that, you fool, he chided himself, and she'll whap you upside the head and you'll use up those precious energies of yours just trying to hold your temper. Did he have to disappear for so long because they banged? Used up a lot of his ghost energy? He irritably flexed his shoulders beneath a beige shirt which was left open to the waistband of his dark pants. That's not left open, dude. You are just wearing an unbuttoned shirt.
Come with me to the world of romance.
This ghost man is having the most insane internal monologue. Hold on. The bangs aren't behaving. Well, 'tis a fine mess you've gotten yourself in now, Lanny, old boy. Nah, you cannot go spilling your woeful story now, and 'tis no a good time to confess you pleasured her with a dead thin either. What? Beth finally notices him.
What are you? Hey, man, calm down.
And he tries to about last night her. She's like, I don't care. I'm fed up with this nonsense, all these lies and games. And she wants to know where he went and he won't tell her because he won't tell her that he's a ghost. Beth's putting some pieces together and she says, you own this place, don't you? This isn't my friend's house. This is your house. Beth, our independent 90s woman, has come to another conclusion. Carlene was playing matchmaker when she invited me here, and you were a part of that little scheme. With a faint shudder, he crooned, "Ooh, darling, you're making me wish I'd had a wee shot of scotch for seeing you." If you're from Scotland, if you're Scottish, please tell me if this book is offending you. As of tomorrow, I'm out of here. I'm going home. Lachlan gets very angry, grabs her, she kicks him. But the reason he grabbed her wasn't in rage. It was because she was about to fall down the stairwell. Because remember, Beth is clumsy. That was planted earlier. This is the payoff of that, I guess. He kisses her. Why are they always kissing at inopportune times? I love a good sparring of words now and then, but girl, this is hurting like hell. I am no perfect, but I do love you more than life itself. Sometimes I don't know what he's saying until I say it out loud. He has to go because he's a ghost, running out of energy because he's been fighting with this woman. And she's like, if you go, I'm not going to be here when you get back. But he just runs away. He can feel himself becoming mist again. He's got to go. This is giving when the girls in H2O get sprayed with water and have to run away to hide the fact that they're mermaids. Beth gets another migraine. She is on the ground. Oh my God, is Beth going to die? And then there'll be ghosts together in this house? As Beth is on the floor, begging Lachlan to help her, tiny lights appeared above her face. It hurt to focus on them, but she couldn't bring herself to close her eyes and shut them out. Tiny dancing lights. They began to move in a circle above her, gyrating faster and faster. One hell of an aura. Then she felt an icy kiss pressed to her brow. I'm here, whispered a voice inside her head. Sleep, Beth. You'll feel better in a time at all. 'Tis a frightening thing you're going through, but it'll pass. Trust me. Kick me a good one in the bahookie. Kick me a good one in the bahookie. You think it's in the glossary? Probably not. Nope. In ghost form, ghost misty form. He carries her to her bed, puts her in it. Oddly, there was a little numbness in her left arm and leg. She is gonna die. She's thinking some very sensible thoughts. I have to get away, put some things in perspective. If Lachlan really loves me, I need him to understand that. He can't treat me like this. All these mixed signals, all this random disappearing. She's looking up at the portrait of herself above the fireplace when there's a terrible pain in the back of her head. She could feel the blood in her veins slowing down with every loud, straining thud of her heart, its beat lessening, winding down, warning her that the mechanics within her body had reached a crucial point. Pain radiated through her chest and down her left arm. Oh my God, this bitch is having a heart attack. Then something cold and feathery passed through her. Her legs began to give out from beneath her as a curtain of darkness descended over her mind. Oh my God. This is going exactly where you think it's going. Oh Lord, I had to go get a blanket because I was cold. Stroking hands and kisses could be felt in every part of her body. No. No, ma'am. No. Oh, phantom teeth playfully nipped at one ankle, then the other. Potential. She'd never felt so alive, so aroused. The climax was more powerful than anything she'd ever experienced. Even its aftermath sensations were robbing her of strength. and then it's gone. Beth goes back to her room. She's cold. She realizes that she should be in pain, but she's not. One way or the other, she was going to find a telephone in the morning, and she was going to have her return tickets changed. She had to get away from Kist House before she lost herself within it. Beth wakes up feeling a little odd. I'm very concerned that Beth is dead. She hears Borgie outside, and she says, if Borgie can get here and there, that means Borgie has a way of getting into town, and town is where there are phones, so I'm gonna go find Borgie and get into town. Lachlan was in the kitchen. Beth, come back. Come back, he wailed. Brass urns and knickknacks, wooden figurines, and display tiles braced up on the mantelpiece began to whip through the hall and bang one wall after another. Haunted Mansion. That's what that ride's called. Borgie says that he has a phone at his cottage she can use. Alarm bells are going off. Beth asks, why do they work there for Lachlan if they hate it so much? And he says, because he threatens us. His phone is in the bedroom, I'm afraid. This is getting very scary when a bright green mist was hovering above the bed. Multiple appendages of lightning darted from it, licking and jabbing at the man upon the rumpled covers. Mingled with the ever-intensifying thunder was Borgie's cries of fear, shrill cries that beckoned to Beth's compassion. Girl, don't be compassionate for him. The mist lightning ball is murdering the guy. To Beth's horror, the lightning became arms of mist and light, which gripped every part of Borgie. What? The only explanation was that she was in some kind of coma. She runs off until she sees another peacock. As Beth is running away, she finds a tree with a headstone at the foot of it. The headstone for Lachlan Ian Baird. Lachlan. So Lonnie was a nickname. Only then, happening to notice another headstone off to the right and step back. Fate brought them to me. Fate cruelly took them away. Rest in peace, my friends, Carlene and David Cambridge. A blood-curdling wail escaped Beth. What kind of a mind would perpetrate this sort of prank? Carlene and David dead? No, that was impossible. She'd spoken to them on the telephone. Well, they've been dead the whole time. Weeping, she whimpered, I can't take much more of this. Me neither. When she had only gone a few feet, her vision zoned in on the last headstone. My dearest love, Beth Marie Staples. The 24th of July, 1963 to the 26th of July, 1964. She wasn't dead. Today was the 26th of July. It could all only be a fiendish prank. She was angrier than she'd ever been, angry and feeling helpless and betrayed. How could Carlene help perpetuate a stunt like this? It was cruel, hideous. I tried to stop you, girl. Now, for the first time, has anyone ever tried to mail one of these in? I can't because I don't live in a state. If you have as an experiment, please tell me if they honor them. And thank you for that word from our sponsors. 'Tis a hard thing to accept at first, he said kindly. 'Tis why I had you come here to Scotland, to my home bed. I couldn't have let you die alone. Not when I knew I could. What? What? Inwardly struggling to bring the violent trembling of her body under control, she glared unflinchingly at the man she felt was responsible for this terrible hoax. I'm leaving here, Lachlan, and I pray to God I never lay eyes on you or this damn place again. This has turned into a horror movie. Deep inside, you know you died. No, a week ago. Shut up. She died a week ago. What? In your sleep. You were dying in the parlor, Beth. I couldn't have stopped what was happening to you. My pleasure in you was the only way I could help you through the pain. How was last week? As if in slow motion, she felt herself falling forward, falling and passing through Lachlan as if he were nothing more than an image comprised of air. He appeared solid. A look at herself revealed that she was the image fading Uno reverse. There's so much of this book left, and she died last week when he was giving her Lachlan's making her tea. Why not? Beth is wondering if she's jet-lagged or mad. To his astonishment, she poofed away. Poofed is such a good verb. There's endless grayness surrounding her, a universe of nothingness. Step back through. 'Tis easy, Beth. Beth steps back into reality from the ghost realm. Oh, and then he kisses her, because why not? This is a great time for that. We're together, everlasting, Beth, he said a bit giddily. Now one can e'er separate us. We can make love through countless sunrises and sunsets. Dwell on the positive or existence, darling. It will lessen the ache in your heart for what has passed. And then he kisses her. What? This poor woman, even when she's dead. I've finally figured it out. You've been drugging me, haven't you? You're going through a denial phase. She throws a 13th century Chinese urn at him,
Smashing a window.
He released a pleading squeal. Lachlan stared down at the countless pieces, horror further whitening his face. To his disbelief, she was tossing a large Austrian crystal paperweight in her hands, glaring at him with an undeniable glint of animosity.
My anger's coming out and I'm feeling it.
He exhaled sharply at the sight of Beth holding up a jade figurine. Oh, sweet Jesus, he sobbed.
Like, look at my fists. I'm
living for her, tearing up his house, raising his hands pleadingly in the air. If you're looking to see a grown man cry, go ahead and toss it. But if there's an ounce of compassion left in you, you'll put it down. This is what pushes him over the edge. Her breaking the family heirlooms. Meanwhile, she's getting ghost assaulted. I want answers. Lachlan tells her the story. He was supposed to get married in 1841. He married Tessa, and for a week when they were married, she would not sleep with him. So he said, it's time you fulfill your wifely duties, Tessa. And she never showed up. In the morning, he went to look for her, and he found her in her room, sleeping in Robert's arms. I don't know who Robert is. He was cucked.
Little cuck boys.
And then she stabs him.
They will never find love ever again.
Robert locked him up in the tower while he was still alive. Robert, I'll never leave my house. You'll never aim my treasures. I stayed in the horrible darkness, trying to understand. How many accents do I go through in this? I have to finish this book before the sun goes down. I always have the shittiest lighting in these videos. Robert wanted to leave, but Tessa didn't. Tessa was spiteful. She delighted in torturing me with each child she bore in my own bed. Let's not do that. Her eldest son, Robbie, took over. When Robbie opened the wall, he set Lachlan's ghost free. I dropped the book. Two things altered my existence then, Beth. When Robbie opened the wall, I felt myself expel a breath, a great roaring breath that gave me a sense of truly being alive again. This energy gives us the ability to materialize and spend portions of time living in this world. Dimension, whatever you wish to call it. I cannot explain how it comes to be, but I know it comes from within this house. That's the explanation we get for why there's ghosts?
There's an odd, unexplainable phenomenon haunting Pizza Hut.
Till you came into my life, he says to Beth. She's doing lightning in the house. Unstable emotions in this form of existence could evoke strange meteorological occurrences. Yeah, of course. Beth's running, he's chasing her. High in the night sky above her, an enormous vortex yawned to life.
Okay.
Hunched over reading this book on the floor. Beth felt herself slipping upward and away beyond the reach of the raging elements she had unknowingly evoked. She didn't try to stop her flight. She was too frightened, too confused, too exhausted to care what awaited her. Beth was only conscious of moving with great speed. Her body and mind were buoyant. It was a horrible place, this endless nothingness. There was nothing to see or feel, utter obscurity in its most horrifying form. I did not want to have an existential life-death crisis while reading this book. The fall went on, but she was dimly conscious of an element of control in her momentum. Lachlan. He was guiding them through the gray void. What had she done to cause that opening between the dimensions? A sentence I did not expect to read in this book. Beth says she wants to go home. Lachlan says this is your home now. Horror movie that this is. When the door slammed behind her, Lachlan threw his hands up in sheer frustration. He addressed the heavens above him. Ah, sweet Jesus, you couldn't have blessed me with a bonny mute lass. I'm a reasonable man. He flung the door open and stepped into the hall. 'Tis time you learn to respect me. This is no way to treat your husband-to-be, woman. He's searching the house for her, cannot find her. Fegs, what did it matter? Of one thing he was certain. Beth, I know you love me.
She slams the door in my face. Now some dudes would read this as rejection. But I know this is just one of her games, that she's crushing on me big time.
I only hope you come to your senses sometime in this century. Back with Beth. Time has kind of gone a bit funny for her. She doesn't know how long has passed. She's still waiting for Charlene and David to show up and tell her this was all a prank. She's been going through the house. She finds that dress that Lachlan was trying to give her. Everything that she was just looking through disappears, and the attic is just dusty and empty. She opens the doors to see Lachlan and a stunning blonde woman and some other people. Somehow Beth is getting a glimpse into the past. Also, for some reason, Beth is naked. Let's move past that. As soon as Lachlan leaves, a slow, evil smile spread across the woman's mouth as she reached out with a gloved hand and boldly cupped the man's crotch. This is Tessa and Robert. You slut, Beth wailed, stopping alongside the couple. Stop it.
There are whores in this house.
Lachlan, can you hear me? He gave a violent start, his horrified gaze riveted where Beth had quasi-touched him. She's going to murder you, Beth cried. He's sensing Beth, but Beth's from the future? What in the Outlander is going on?
I don't understand.
Beth stepped back, ignoring the fact that she passed through the closed door as if it were mere air. I won't be tricked like this, she vowed, storming in the direction of the attic. She's going home and she's going to forget him. Beth's hearing the disembodied voices of all her dead family. They're saying we're all waiting for you to join us. Beth comes out of whatever weird thing is happening in the attic, sees Agnes, the old lady, but she's aged. Beth's like, hey Agnes, I need to get out. Can you give me a ride to the airport? I see a car outside. Agnes looks really afraid that she's seen Beth. And then this man comes out of the car and comes over and is like, hey Aunt Agnes, sorry I'm late. Get in the car. Also, who's this lady? Do you know her? A smile tugged at the corner of Roan's mouth. His name is Roan, apparently. His aunt had told him the last resident, also an American woman, had died some months ago. Then something extraordinary materialized beside the woman. She needs knocked from you, the new arrival said. The ghost Lachlan kicks Roan off his property. Return to the house, Lachlan ordered Beth. Beth's eyes flashed up at his profile. I'm going home. You are home. Now get in the house. Drop dead, Beth hissed over her shoulder. I am dead. When Miss McKee-Madden thought of that sentence, she was like, yeah, I cooked. Rowan and Lachlan argue because Rowan's taking the place of the other guy. Beth's packing her suitcase. She's going home. How could she love a man like Lachlan after all he'd done? Love. She did love him. God help her. She couldn't deny it. But entwined with the love was mistrust and anger. I wonder why. Beth looks up from packing her suitcase to see a man and a woman standing in the doorway. Carlene was dressed in the same outfit as when Beth had last seen her. We've come to take you back with us, Carlene said with a tenuous smile. So Carlene and David had decided to come home. Too bad it was too late. For Beth was determined to leave Scotland before the day was over. No one can stop me from leaving. I'm really disappointed in you, Carlene. I thought we had the kind of friendship that could withstand anything. Beth, if Lachlan discovers we've come for you, damn it, he wants you to stay in this house with him. Tell me something I don't know. Beth is such a diva. Do you know he believes he's dead? But what's even more outrageous, he believes I'm dead too. Oh, and you and David. A car went through her and she experienced the past and she heard her dead relatives. Girl, there's only so many things that can happen before you just have to accept that you are like Ghost Man. Swell character you tried to fix me up with, old buddy. Beth, shut up. I have no idea where this book is going. You still refuse to accept it, don't you? I knew you were dying several months before David and I were killed in the accident. Carlene tells Beth that in the beginning she was on board with Lachlan's plan to bring her here since she was dying. Beth, don't be afraid to pass on to the next plane of existence with us. When your best friend and her husband who are dead try and get you to third wheel to the afterlife with them. And then Beth has this weird thing happen to her where suddenly she feels really calm and says, you don't get it, Carlene, Lachlan's keeping me here because he loves me. And Carlene says, you don't know what you're saying. You don't understand the power. His power over me? Beth gave a low chuckle, then sobered. What caused my death? Never mind. I'll ask Lachlan. I thought you were leaving. This is all over the place. With calm dignity, Beth tossed her clothing back atop the bed and headed for the hall. She stopped and looked over her shoulder. I'm sorry I lashed out at you. You and David go on. I'll find my own way. What? David and Carlene fade together as one. They begin their long journey to what lay beyond, the grayness where they'd hidden for what seemed like an eternity. They're going into the afterlife, as you do in this romance book. Lachlan and Roan are still fighting. Lachlan has a grudge against the English people for murdering him and walling him up in the wall. This is a 5-generation debt that this family is baying to him. Beth wants him to just get over it. When Roan and Agnes leave, Roan runs over one of Lachlan's peacocks with his car, a sentence that has never been uttered by anyone who has not read this book. Agnes freaks out because she's like, oh my god, Roan, my nephew, has had such a hard life. He lost his wife and young son in a terrible fire, and now he's going to be murdered by Lachlan because he ran over one of his beloved peacocks. Anyway, Beth, there was still a modicum of anger in her toward Lachlan for his unorthodox method of procuring himself a lover and companion. That's one way to put it. He starts explaining what happened, like how he came up with this plan for her to become his wife. Carlene and David were great when they first came. They're playing chess. It had been so long since there was a nice couple in this house. Carlene asks if she can hang up this portrait over the fireplace. And then he started to form a connection with Beth through the portrait. And he knew there was some kind of problem with her. Beth wouldn't pick up any of his thoughts that he was sending her to try and tell her to go see a doctor. So then he convinced Carlene that Beth was dying and that Beth needed to come here so she wouldn't die alone. Carlene and David and Lachlan planned to tell Beth everything, but then Carlene and David died in a car accident. Oh no. The cause of your death was a cerebral hemorrhage. Agnes remarked the doctor said it was a miracle you didn't suffer a stroke. Right, a stroke, Beth huffed. I guess I was just damn lucky that it killed me instead. Sometimes there are banger lines in this book. Beth tells Lachlan about the weird thing that happened to her that morning in the attic, that she was the one haunting the house when he said the house was haunted. I hate when that happens. If I manage to go back, then you must be able to as well. Go back, Lachlan. Change the past.
If you could change your fate, would you?
Nah. Live your life without you? He asked harshly. We'll go back together. He does not want to go back if he's not with her. Lachlan tells Beth that technically it's her decision whether or not she stay or go, because she could just go into the void or she could stay with him and live forever as a ghost. If I do stay, Lachlan, then we must agree to a companionship of equal status. Not what Lachlan wants, Lachlan gets. I've heard a women's lib, he grumbled, but I have a suspicion you're talking specifically about the English. Some things remain a man's business, Beth. Beth wants to know how the house works, if who's paying the water bill, and he says he gives money to Viola Cook. This is the first time we've heard of Viola Cook. Viola Cook, who is a dear old soul with a love for the supernatural. Her grandma, Violet, was the founder of the Causeway in Castle Douglas many years ago. She was a staunch believer in the afterlife and funded the preservation of estates blessed with the spirits of the long dead. She came here during the last decade of her life and we had a hearty talk we did. I was quite surprised when she told me I was the most vibrant spirit she'd come to meet. Sorry? Almost at the end of this book, and we've just been told that, canonically in this universe, there are just ghosts haunting ancient estates, and they give money to Viola Cook to pay their water bills. Every Halloween, Viola has a seance in this house with her group. A few groans keep them happy for another year. So Beth's like, well, will you tell her about me then if, you're putting on this ghost show for her? Lachlan says, no, I'm Scotland's most notorious ghost. My name's in books all around the world. So you're saying that if I do decide to stay, I'm to be your secret lover? Lachlan says it's for Beth's own good. He cannot have people gawking at her. Beth does not like that and begins to throw objects around the room again, except now that she believes she's a ghost, she's doing this by levitating them. Darling, he laughed unsteadily. No, not my treasures again. I've had to turn a light on. I never succeed in filming these all in one day with good lighting. I'm not a child, Lachlan. I'm a woman with a mind of my own. I understand your chauvinism stems from your upbringing in the wrong century. Is that an insult to my or my century? If I were to smash all your treasures to free you from your material obsession, would you be upset? Lachlan confirms he'd be upset. I just don't want to read what he says in Scottish. Then stop making decisions for me. To Lachlan's relief, the artifacts settled back in their places. Beth is the threat girl. Lachlan is the gaslight ghost man. Now he wants to bang.
All you need is a little occupational therapy, like making love.
For him, it was a simple matter. He loved her. She loved him. The bed was upstairs.
You want some tail?
But before she could commit herself to eternity with him, they had one last hurdle to surpass. Only one? She really wants to settle his beef with the English people. His servants? Agnes and Agnes's son, who I think might now be dead, and Agnes's nephew. He punishes them if they do not remain his servants. Beth wants him to no longer do that. Until you can resolve your anger with the Inglis clan. Hold on. I've been assuming that the family is English because it's written as if he's saying English in a Scottish accent, but I'm beginning to think it's just another clan that is Scottish called Inglis. Retcon everything I said about English. They're not English, they're Scottish. That's not on me, that's on the stupid book. Until you can resolve your anger with the Inglis clan, I'm going to put as much distance between us as possible. God, I wonder what their tartan is. Beth apparently has changed her mind and has decided to go seduce Lachlan.
Let me smash.
Not wearing any clothing.
Legs spread out. Spread wide.
He makes a snarky comment. Beth no longer wants to bang. Then there's like a, I want to, but you don't want to, but I do want to.
I'm leaving.
What? No, wait, let me smash.
For this genre of book, Beth can't just go in there and be like, I want some D. So she has to go in there being like, I want some D, and then change her mind because he's being snarky Scottish ghost man. And then snarky Scottish ghost man kind of forces her into it, and she's like, no, but yes. So that's how we get to...
Well, whatever they're doing, it looks like they're having a good time.
They are mid-coitus when Lachlan says, I forgot, damn the stars, woman, I cannot waste my energies now. Pushes her off him and gets up. 'Tis a night of business, Beth. Your timing is lousy. Beth is shocked, as am I. This will have to wait. The one night a year. Will, 'tis business, you understand. No, I do not understand. At some point, Beth has changed her mind about Lachlan. I don't really know when this happened, not in the book. She's having a conversation with Rowan, trying to convince him they need to end this feud. She tells him about the Robert man putting Lachlan in the wall and all of these things. They should put it behind them and get over it, and then she poofs away. Meanwhile, Lachlan is putting on a show for Viola and her spirit gang. He's barefoot and he's making ghost sounds.
Do you like that?
Someone says, oh, give it a rest. Refusing to dwell on Beth's reason for interrupting business, Lachlan forced himself back into his expected role.
It's not clocking to you that I'm standing on business, is it?
I have sent the disruptor away. Do you have any idea how ridiculous you look? This is what happens when you get cock-blocked by...
Haunted House Halloween Bash.
Oh, sweet Jesus, he groaned as a beautiful apparition began to form on the center of the dining room table. Not now, darling. Beth fully materialized. 12 people at the seance are looking between the two ghosts having a domestic dispute. Beth is a little bit of a menace, a little bit of an icon. The seance leaves and Lachlan gives her shit for spoiling his fun. She faced him. I'm passing on, Lachlan, with or without you. We don't belong here, Lachlan. Rowan was right about one thing. This world belongs to the living. I love you. The words welled tears up in Beth's eyes. His tone and bearing were lifeless. No, I don't believe you do, Lachlan. I conveniently died here for you, but I don't think we would have gone beyond testing the chemistry between us under normal circumstances. I've had plenty of time to think this through. It's no good between us. Beth's body began to shimmer, then fade. It's the darkness in you separating us, Lachlan. I won't share in this bondage. I'm sorry, but sometimes we have to hurt the one we love to save them from themselves. Lachlan stared with stark anguish at the emptiness. He thinks she'll return. We get a time skip to several months later. A woman gets into a car accident outside of the house, so Lachlan goes to get Roan. There's an unconscious woman at the steering thing. Inglis, I want to solidify a nuke to help her or these poor children. He has to get Roan to help because he's in ghost form. Duh. When Lachlan comes back from the grey void, him and Roan have a scotch together and talk about the woman who got in the car accident. Laura, they're bonding over their stubborn American women. Laura has to stay here with the boys for a while because her purse was stolen and she was in a car accident. Roan wakes up in the night to Lachlan shaking his shoulders. He's made him breakfast. Why? Beth tried to tell me you had human feelings, but I was too stubborn to want to believe it. Look, Kudman, I'm not... Look, Look, old man. You told me to leave 3 weeks ago because you knew I could see your pain. Oh, of course, he's a tortured ghost. Lachlan wants Roan to take care of this Laura woman because it's a loose end, and Lachlan has decided to pass on. I just want this book to end. He's beginning to fade when Roan shouts, "Wait!" Lachlan hesitated, then fully solidified himself. Beth didn't pass on, Roan blurted. She was the reason I showed up when I did. We are about to read a poem by Robbie Burns. And on that note, Roan reached for the bottle of scotch. To Robert Burns and your great-grandfather. That's how I want to do every toast. Lachlan tells Rowan that whenever Laura's giving him a hard time, he's got to kiss the fight out of her.
What did he say?
Beth materializes. Beth, Lachlan rasped. Women are not mindless possessions. Feminist icon. Beth and Lachlan are watching from the window. I don't know how much time has passed or where we are. She sees Roan kiss Laura, and she sees Laura knee Roan in the groin, as she should. Okay. Beth and Lachlan are reunited. She had to stay away for his own good to get him and Roan to, make up and get this feud to end. Beth goes downstairs to greet Laura. Beth says, "Sorry, I'm late for a meeting," and goes into the library where Viola Cook is. Lachlan tells Viola that him and Beth are retiring from haunting, so he wants to sell his house to Roan. I don't know why they need Viola here to do this. And I've also got some money stashed away in the rooms. You're set for life. This is a nice arrangement that Roan's found himself in. He gets a wife, 2 sons, and a free Victorian mansion. The only condition, Beth and I would like to have the use of the master bedroom for a wee time more, a few months or so. 'Tis the only room I'd be asking you to leave alone and locked for our privacy, you understand. God, fine. Roan agrees, says sure. Beth wakes up. She's in Lachlan's arms in their bed. "I'm so proud of you. We're a good team, lass," when we're not arguing. "Lachlan, you have something planned for Roan, don't you? You always wanted children in this house." They faded into the night, their essence wrapped about one another. We're at the last chapter. Thanks, sweet Jesus.
2 seconds later.
Oh my God. The house is on fire. Roan is having flashbacks to when his wife and child died in a house fire. Beth is trying to wake him up, but she's caught between 2 worlds. It's the gas lines, apparently. Obviously, they've exploded. This has not been brought up one time in this book. Beth makes a portal. Roan has to throw the kid into the portal to get him out of the flaming room. This is the last chapter. So they got 1 kid out, but remember there's 2 kids. They cannot find Kevin. Don't worry, Lachlan's gone in for Kevin. I am very concerned that this is the way Lachlan's going to end up with the child in the afterlife. Lachlan and Beth came to stand in front of the anxious couple. In Lachlan's arms was a wide-eyed Kevin, thank God, who for the first time in his life was absolutely speechless. "Thank you," Roan said in a barely audible voice to Lachlan. In the next second, Lachlan was embracing him. This is the bromance ghost book. Dusk before dawn, laddie. Then stepping back, he drew Beth's fading form into his arms, and together they vanished into the night. It was a week later before Roan returned to the remains of the manor. Astonished, Roan turned to find himself staring into Lachlan's brooding eyes. They just won't leave. Where the hell have you 2 been? Gathering up enough energy. That's what I say when I go missing for weeks. Beth's looking on at their bros as they banter. These 2 men, who Beth loved so very dearly in different ways. Since when does she love? Do you even know this man? Seemed incapable at the moment of realizing just what the future held for them. So it was upon her, she felt, to enlighten them. But to succeed, she knew she was going to have to resort to something stronger than a mere suggestion. Beth wants Rowan to rebuild the house because he's a carpenter. Obviously, we all knew this the whole time. Everyone else from that family, Agnes and Ben, I don't know who Ben is, come and they're all going to rebuild. We've all forgiven everybody. There's no more blood feud. And Beth says, and Laura will come back with the boys and you'll live here because you're in love. What? Rowan digests her words, then looked up at the charred ruins with an enigmatic light in his eyes. I owe you my life. Then live it to its fullest. The scene depicted the trio's strong bond of friendship. Why was that written like it's a screenplay? It occurred to Rowan what Lachlan had meant the night of the fire when he'd said, dusk before dawn, laddie. Bros before bitches, laddie. One phase of life had to end before another began anew. One thing he was sure about, Beth and Lachlan would remain for a very long time, for as long as he needed them, which in his heart would be until the dusk of his corporeal life. That's the end of the book. So Rowan, this book ends with a man who was just introduced 3/4 of the way through the book, and the woman who was introduced the second to last chapter. That's the real love story. Don't worry, everything between Beth and Lachlan is totally fine, and they're not going to pass on to the other world, and they're not going to have a week locked in a bedroom. That was everlasting. Any book with a cover like this is going to have a house fire in the last chapter. I think I might be in shock. I don't even know what to say. I was going to make some thoughtful commentary, but I think I just have to say thanks for watching. Goodbye. If you're looking at the runtime of this video, you know that I'm a liar. That's not goodbye. While editing, well, a couple things. First thing, I don't know why I didn't notice this when I was reading the book, but upon watching this video, it's glaringly obvious. Lachlan marrying the 17-year-old. I don't know how old he was. And it was like, oh, he was a virgin. So I assumed he was like 19, 20. But that means that he's frozen as a ghost at 19 or 20. And I don't know about you, but the cover, that does not look like a 19, 20-year-old man. 19-year-old ghost Lachlan romancing 30-year-old Beth. Any way that works out, weirdly. Lachlan being like 30, romancing 17-year-old, demanding that she sleep with him. But unfortunately, I think that is the outcome, because why did Lachlan see the portrait of also 17-year-old Beth and say, that's my woman? So that's weird. And this is me acknowledging that that's weird. Moving on from less weirdness to more, well, I started thinking, maybe I should look up Ms. Mickey Madden, because what if she said something batshit crazy, and I need to put a disclaimer on this video that I do not claim that. So I Google Mickey Madden. I find her website. It's in need of some love. Only 3 of the 4 tabs work, and all of the links are broken. Her bio made this book make a lot of sense, honestly. I don't know when this was written. There's no updated note. Mickey began writing, quote, horrible horror novels at the age of 13 on an old Royal typewriter. It was her chosen genre until a 1990 vacation in Scotland changed everything. The way she kept writing horror novels. That book felt so much thriller, so much horror. It's paranormal romance, I suppose, technically. She's with a banging a ghost. So it makes sense that that was the avenue she chose. But horror and romance are so similar, like the most similar genres. They have so much overlap. They use the same techniques to evoke emotional responses, just in different contexts. I have been searching for her jewelry and gem tree store. I cannot find it. But then I clicked on Book Gallery. There's another book. Sometimes it's called Dusk Before Dawn, and sometimes it's called Dawn's Everlasting. The sequel follows Roan and Laura. Mickey Madden was setting up an expanded universe, which makes the end of the book make so much more sense, and also makes the end of that book so much more freaking frustrating. But just hold on, because then I scrolled and I scrolled and I scrolled some more, and it's a series. Everlasting is book 1 in a 6-book series. From what I've deduced, books 1 through 4 were traditionally published. 5 and 6 were definitely independently published. 6 doesn't even show up on Goodreads. So in order to get my hands on book 6, Dreams Everlasting, I would have to directly order it from her Amazon listing. Just based on the blurbs, we need to find these books. This keeps adding couples to the ghost mansion, ghost romance commune. There's fairies, paparazzi, psychic detectives. Unfortunately, books 2 to 4 are not lenticular. Dusk Before Dawn is actually so boring. The books listed on her website have been reprinted There's a note. The special editions of the Everlasting series have extended and new scenes, and the Scottish dialect has been softened for easier reading. I'm not going to order these off Amazon if I can find them in a used bookstore, but I'm on the hunt. I don't know if I should tell you this. Hop over to her Goodreads, absolute gems. There's Haunting Rose, what I can only describe as science fiction. Whoa, Midnight Sun has a 4.5 rating on Goodreads. No one left a review! Danelle Lansing discovers a new meaning to terror when 5 extraordinary strangers lure her into a web strung with deception, abduction, covert hominid species, and murder. After 2 years of running from an ex-lover, she witnessed murder a governor's widow. She finds a refuge in a cottage belonging to the Backstair Estate on the west coast of Washington State. Within 2 weeks of her stay, she is robbed and beaten by an unknown assailant, then introduced to the existence of Wolfinga, a shape-shifting werewolf race who were the dominating species occupying Earth until 36,000 years ago. She is unwittingly indoctrined into the packs by a bite on the shoulder and soon learns she has graduated from a mistress on the lam to a target test subject by yet another race of beings called Terrans who seek Wolfinga DNA to override a genetic empathic curse they call Well Link. Oh, I need to find this. A 2002, we don't know if this is Omega-verse fiction yet, but it's a werewolf alien. I need to know if the Wolfinga were like broing it down with the Neanderthals. I fear we're not done with Mickey Madden. Ooh.